why we are going for a warehouse. Why we are going for a warehouse? That is one more reason why we have it. And the other thing that we have to worry about is why we are going for a data warehouse instead of OLTP system is that, excuse me, somebody has just joined. Can you please mute yourself? Okay. So why we are going for a OLTP system is because now you have the data is distributed across the multiple application. I have the data in Oracle system, I have the data in mainframe system, and I have the data in SAP system. If I have to analyze the data on the OLTP system, first I have to analyze the data for India. Let's say the Oracle system is developed for India, mainframe system is developed for USA, and the SAP system is developed for Europe. So assume that this is the Citibank OLTP systems what they have developed, or Citibank internet banking system what they have developed. So for all India transactions will be performed in this. For all the US transactions will be performed in this. And all the Europe transactions are performed in this. So assume, think about the Citibank CEO, if they have to calculate the profit of global profits, how much they have generated in a quarter. First they have to go and check here in India, and again they have to go to USA and then find out how much profit they are making, and again they have to go and then do it. So which means there is a lot of time consuming. So, and you have to calculate the global profit, so which is a time taking process,
Now it is there. Now I am back. The connection was.
Yes, somebody is talking. Please mute yourself first. Thank you. Okay, so now when you talk about this process, so if you have the data which is available in the centralized place, then it is easy for someone directly retrieve the data and then see it. So since you have the data distributed across the multiple systems, it is very difficult and the time consuming process to do the analysis. So if you have a data which is available in the centralized place, I can easily do that, and which saves a lot of time for me. It saves a lot of time, and that is the one more reason why we don't use a OLTP system. That is a time-consuming process. Time-consuming process for an analysis. Time-consuming process for analysis. And the other one is that you don't have any tool, just like a reporting tools what you have, just like the reporting tools what you have now. When we talk about, there is no reporting tool which can actually fetch the data from heterogeneous system and then represent the data in the single format. So I don't have any tool in the current market which can retrieve the data from all these three systems at the same time and then show the data in the report. I don't have a tool which is available. So that's the reason. That is also one more reason why we are integrating the data. So these are all the reasons why we are not using OLTP system for analysis, whereas OLAP will give you the better advantages over this. So when you talk about the OLAP system will overcome all these disadvantages. When we talk about this, OLAP is historical in nature, and OLAP is historical in nature, and it is denormalized in nature with a few number of tables. So OLAP, most of the times it is normalized up to second normal form, not the third normal form. So OLTP is a third normal form and OLAP is a second normal form which we have used it. So that is how we use the OLAP system. OLAP, that is a OLAP. And when we talk about the differences between the OLTP system and the OLAP system, so let's talk about the simple differences. Why? What is the main difference between the OLTP and OLAP is about? So main thing is about the characteristics. So one is used for daily operations, like when you talk about the ATM withdrawal and all, this is not used for analysis, which is just used for your customer daily transactions will be used. So that's why the OLTP system is called as operational in nature, and whereas a OLAP system is called as informational in nature. Why it is called as an information? When you analyze the data, it gives you the information about your business, how you are doing, where you are lagging, and all those things will be retrieved. And the next thing is about the, it is a transaction oriented and it is analytical oriented. As the T here stands for a transaction and A stands for a analytical analysis. So, and the users, who uses your OLTP system? If you are a Citibank customer and they have an internet banking system, you use an internet banking system, so you are a user of the OLTP system. And when you go and visit a bank, a clerk who entering the data into the system, he uses a system or a database professional. But who uses the data warehouse? Who uses the data OLAP system? It is completely used by your top level management team, that is a knowledge workers. When I say knowledge worker, it can be your CEO or COO or a branch manager or sales manager who uses, or a marketing manager who uses it. So this is completely used by the knowledge workers and then to do that. And the next one, yes, somebody has actually muted. If you have a question, go ahead, please. Yeah, Vivek, you can mute yourself. Otherwise, I can mute from my end. I'm muted you. Okay, so the next thing is that which you have to understand is about the data. What kind of a data that will be present? So in the data, you'll have a most recent data. You'll have a most recent data, and the OLAP system, you'll have a historical data which will be present. And what is it is actually used for a day-to-day operations OLTP system, and the OLAP system is used for a decision support system. Decision support. I mean, it's used for making the decisions. By analyzing the data, what you do? By analyzing the data, you take the decisions, and then that decisions will be reflect in your revenues, and then all those things. And the DB design, most of the time, the OLTP system will have an application-oriented system, and the OLAP is a subject-oriented. OLAP is a subject-oriented, means it is based on the each subject area the data is categorized. And the unit of work, whatever you do, it will do a simple transactions. Here you will fire a complex queries for analysis. So the OLTP system, most of the time, you read the data from the system, at the same time you also write the data into the system, which means whenever you perform a transaction, that's nothing but you're inserting the data. So that is a read-write, both the things will happen in the OLTP, and when it goes to the OLAP system, you'll have only the read operations. So business users always will read the data apart from the ETL process. So that's how the OLTP, and there are other differences also. When you talk about the OLTP system, the data will be keep pouring into the OLTP system, because whenever a customer performs the transaction, or whenever a bank clerk enters any data while opening an account or anything, so the data will be coming into the OLTP system. And the OLAP, this system, this information will be out, means based on the analysis, the information will be written. Since the OLTP system does not store the historical data, you'll have a less number of records which will be present in the OLTP system, whereas your OLAP system will have millions and millions of records. Because, so let's say OLTP is hardly storing the 5 transactions what you have done. So within a year or 2 years, you might have performed 100 transactions or 150 transactions. For a customer, if you are thinking about 150, 10,000 customer, it will be in the millions. So OLAP system will have a millions and millions of records which will be there, but whereas the OLTP system, which will have only the very less number of records which will compare to that. And the number of users who accesses the OLTP system will be more, because if a Citibank is having 1 lakh customers in India who are using an internet banking, so 1 lakh customers will access it. Means the number of users who are accessing the system is more compared to OLAP. When you talk about the OLAP system, OLAP is used only by the knowledge workers. When I say knowledge worker, means you hardly will have 100 or 200 top level management team which will be using your system. So that's how. So since the number of records which are less in case of OLTP, the size of the OLTP system less compared to OLAP, because it is directly proportional. If you're storing more data, more space will be occupied. If you're storing less space, I mean less data, it will be a less space which will be occupied. And the priority is this, like you'll have a high performance is a priority for this. Means whenever you're measuring the performance of an OLTP system, always you say that how much time it is taking to perform the transaction, and the OLAP system it will take like how much time it is taking to retrieve the output. So when you measure the performance, so one is a transaction throughput, another is a query throughput. So we'll measure the performance in terms of a transaction, and we'll measure the performance in terms of a query throughput. So that is how there are a lot of differences between the OLTP system and the OLAP system, and why we are going for a data warehouse. Yeah, main advantage. Yes, go ahead, Hari. Yes. Yes, Hari, go ahead.
Can you can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I can. Yeah. So when you said the priority for the OLTP and OLAP, when you're comparing it, so you said high flexibility and end user autonomy. So I don't understand that part. I mean, what is it that you're trying to say?
High flexibility. High flexibility means the way you access the reports, the way how easily you are able to generate the reports. That is a main priority of the OLAP application. So whatever the reporting tools that you're using, those are easy enough to make the reports. So that kind of a reporting is required for a business users. Your business users will not have any technical knowledge. They'll have only the business knowledge. Your OLAP application should give it should benefit the end user in a simple way. They should not actually work hard to generate the reports. That is a priority of the OLAP application. That is what is mentioned over. Right. Okay. So now we are talking about so many times, like now so far, like we talked about the data warehouse does this thing, and data warehouse is having a characteristics like this. And what is the main reason why we are going for a data warehouse? What is the main necessity of the integrating the data? So the main necessity of integrating the data is that if you're not analyzing the data about your business, you'll not be able to know how you are doing and how you're actually generating the revenues, and where you're lagging, and all those things cannot be determined without the data warehouse. So building the data warehouse will give you an advantage over your competitors, and by taking a decisions very quickly, it will give you an advantage over your competitors. Which means, let's say we'll talk about what kind of questions that the data warehouse answers in a very detailed way, and I'll just come back to that. So the data warehouse in any business, I mean in any domain now, insurance or marketing or any other domain, if you talk about, everywhere you have a competition. It is not a monopoly business. You need to be very active and then take the decisions very quickly about your products, whatever the marketing that you are doing. Then only you can generate your revenues. Then only you can take the advantage or your competitors to market your products and to market your services. So that is where the data warehouse plays a vital role in bringing your business up. So that's the reason all these clients are actually choosing a data warehouse for any domain to improve their business. So that's where the data warehouse plays a major role, and what kind of questions that it answers, what kind of questions that we will understand. And the main other thing is, why only the data warehouse? Why can't we use a OLTP system? That we understand. So why we are going for only for a data warehouse? Why not the OLTP system? So that is because it is more normalized, no historical data, it is a time-consuming process, and unavailability of tools and technology to generate the reports from the multiple OLTP system at the same time. So in this, we understand that the data warehouse will help you to generate these things. But what kind of business questions does this answer? I mean, what kind of reporting generally be done on the data warehouse, So the first thing that we are going to, let's understand one by one, like how the data warehouse will answer all these questions and what kind of reporting will be made on the data warehouse. So assume that if somebody, sales manager, Apple sales manager, wants to identify how much revenue that they're generating from each region, how much revenue that they're generating from a APAC region, how much revenue that they're generating from the Europe, how much revenue that they're generating from North America, South America, and all these things. So when you want to identify the sales distribution according to the region wise, then by just generating a simple report, they can identify how much revenue that they are generating from each region. So it will be a simple process for them. So this kind of a questions can be answered by your data warehouse. And I also assume that Apple has come up with a lot of products. Like, let's say you have 4, 4S, 5S, 5C, and a lot of products are there in the market. And there will be a few among those may not be doing good. If you want to identify what are the reasons why it is not doing good and why it is slow moving, what is the disadvantages with that product, if you are able to understand, then you can come up with a better product with a better futures within a short period of time. If the product is not doing, you can't wait for a long time to see the response of the customer. So you'll have to take the decision very quickly, identify what are the disadvantages and what are the drawbacks of that product, and come up with a better product even before your competitor comes up with a new product. So that is one more advantage that you get, and this kind of a question, this kind of a question can be answered by your data warehouse. And the other thing is that, and if you want to identify like which sales agents are doing better and which is not doing better, not better, in the sense like, let's say I'm actually selling my iPhones through various channels and various sales agents I'm selling. I'm selling through the eBay, I'm selling through the Walmart, I'm selling through the different other Amazon, and every site I'm selling it. Who is actually promoting my product better? I want to understand which sales agent is actually making my profit. Which sales agent is actually doing better and who is not doing better. If one of the sales agent is doing better, we can give them the promotional offers to encourage them to sell so many even more products better than that. So that is one more advantage that you get with these things. So in terms of defaulters profile, let's say in the credit card industry, if somebody is not paying the bill, if you don't know how many number of people are actually are defaulters in a particular region, you will not be able to follow up with them. So this defaulters profile, in order to identify the defaulters profile and all those things also will be determined. And the next thing is about identifying the profitable customers. So what is the advantage of identifying the profitable customers? So you have a lakhs and lakhs of customers. Among all those, there will be only 1,000 customers who are actually giving you a profit, and the rest of all the customers are actually neutral and they're not making any revenue for you. So if you're identifying a profitable customers, you can actually encourage them with a new offer. Sometimes whenever you actually pick the call, the people will call you and then say that, so you're actually, the mobile usage has crossed the more than actual limit, and we are offering you a postpaid and all those things. So these services and all will come by analyzing it. Unless you analyze that this customer is not, how much this customer is actually spending for this money, you will not be able to identify who is a profitable customer and who is not a profitable customer. So you need to analyze the data, and this should be done on a historical period. It's not that only on a 1 month basis you can just determine the customer as a profitable customer or non-profitable. It has to be done on the over a time period of time to determine all those things. So that is one more thing which you do it. And as and when you actually have to compare your business, we always compare the growth of the business from the past year or the previous to previous year and all those things. So if a company has to compare the revenues, how much they're actually growing, how much they're growing from year to year and how it is going. So this this also will be determined by this. And suppose, let's say you are a marketing, we are into the, somebody marketing manager wants to identify when they're actually marketing their products to the various channels, means they're advertising through the various channels, and which is effective and which is not effective. Suppose, let's say I'm advertising through the Google and I'm advertising through the TV channels and everything. So how many responses I'm actually getting from Google and how many responses? So which one is better for me? So if you're getting a better responses from the TV, you can more incline towards the TV rather than going with the Google ads. So this it also helps you into the marketing. And moving on to the next, and the more important thing is that based upon the historical analysis, you'll be able to predict your future and what is going to happen in the next year. And you can also plan your budget accordingly based upon the historical experiences. You can also plan your budget accordingly to determine that. So that determines a strategic planning and budgeting also will happen. That's why the data warehousing system, the analysis, is called as a business intelligence. Means you're able to forecast your business, what is going to happen what is going to happen in the near future, and what kind of risks that you face, what kind of liquidity risk you'll have, what kind of currency risk that you have, what kind of interest rate risk that you have. All these kind of are predictable. So you can easily predict what is, you can easily forecast what is going to happen with the historical analysis and then by doing the analysis. That's why the data warehousing system is also called as a business intelligence system. It's a kind of an artificial intelligence which is being provided by the data warehouse analysis. That's why it is called as a data warehouse business intelligence, DWB we prefer it. So these kind of questions will be answered by your data warehouse whenever you analyze the data, and apart from, instead of analyzing the data on the OLTP systems, and these questions will be answered. And we have already seen that why decisions, data warehouse is also called as a decision support system, because based on the analysis you're making the decisions. That's why it is called as a DSS. DSS, that is your decision support systems which you have. And we already understand the benefits about the data warehouse. One is flexible, another is a high availability, and you'll have a quality and complete data, and it helps you to focus on the information processing, and it helps you to identify. It's a kind of a knowledge discovery for a business users when they're analyzing the data. So a lot of benefits which you have. That's why you are going with a data warehouse and use the data warehouse, right? So this is so far we discussed about the benefits and all those things. And so far, if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and we'll discuss and then move on with the next slide. Any questions? Okay. So now you understand that what is, yes, I'm not sure what is your name, but it's being displayed as Del123. Yes, I'm replying to you. Yes, this is the first class that we are taking. Yeah. And the next thing is that you understand how you're going to build a data warehouse and what are the differences. Yes, if you have a question, please go ahead, please. Okay. So we understand what are the advantages of the data warehouse, what are the limitations with your OLTP system and all those things. So the next step is that when you understand how are you going to build the data warehouse, what is the process that you're going to follow to build the data warehouse. So whenever you want to build the data warehouse, first you have to understand what are the business drivers, for which, what kind of business reports that you are going to generate. First, that is the first thing that you have to determine. First, understand who is going to sponsor, and when you are developing a data warehouse, what are the risks that are involved in the data warehouse? What are the risks? So when I develop, what kind of risks that I'll face, and if I'm spending so much money on it, will I be able to get? That is a return of investment also you have to think about. So you have to think about all these things, identify the key drivers, sponsorship, risks, and then the return of investment. So once you understand all these, then as a next step when you have decided to build a data warehouse is that first you have to understand the functional requirements of a customer. So what kind of analysis? Sponsorship means who is going to pay the money for a, it's like whenever you start building a data warehouse, from the business side, who is going to sponsor that project? Let's say you are actually taking a project from the Walmart, and Walmart will have different departments, right? They'll have a marketing department, they'll have a sales department, they'll have a human resource. So you're building a data warehouse, whether you'll get the money from the human resource department or you'll get the money from the sales department, who is going to sponsor that project? So that's nothing but the cost, who is going to bear it. So next thing is that you have to determine what kind of reporting that you're going to do and what are the functional requirements and for which subject area. So when you're building a data warehouse, you're not going to build the data warehouse for all the subject areas at the same time. So data warehouse is built in a phases, and the project also will be built in a phase by phase. So when we talk about the functional requirements, first you have to understand the functional requirements of the customer and what kind of reports that they have to generate, what kind of reports. So all the reports, I mean, whatever the questions that we have gone through, right? So that kind of a question. So what kind of reports that they have to do. And then once you decide for which subject area and what are the drivers and everything, then you need to decide the architecture of the data warehouse. So how the data flow is going to be. So we are going to see the different architectures which are available in the probably in the tomorrow's class. We'll see that how the data warehousing architecture is developed. And once the architecture is decided, then you have to think about which tool, which data warehousing tool that you are going to use to load the data, and which reporting tool that you are going to use to analyze the data. You have to evaluate the technology. So yesterday you have seen the different tools. I mean, we have seen the different tools, that is your ETL tools and different reporting tools. So when you are choosing the ETL tool and when you are choosing an OLAP tool, so any tool that you can choose it. I mean, let's say you can choose any Informatica Power Center as you can choose Informatica Power Center as your ETL tool, or you can choose a data stage as your ETL tool, or you can choose a OWB or ODI as your tool. So any ETL tool can be chosen. So when you verify the data, when you verify the tools, you can choose any one of the tool from the among this thing. And the next thing is to verify the reporting tools. So the reporting tools also you can choose anything. Either you can choose OBIEE, Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, and you have a BO, Cognos, anything. I mean any among all these tools you can choose it to do that. So that is how once you finalize the technology, then you're going to conduct the proof of concept. It's like a simple whether we'll be able to replicate the data or not, some kind of a prototype kind of a thing. When you are developing a actual product, you'll actually show to the business user the prototype. I mean, like who is actually buying it. When you go and buy a mobile, they'll actually show you the prototype of it first. So likewise, you'll actually conduct a proof of concept, like how you're going to integrate the data, and then all those things. Next, once you decide that you have to build a data warehouse, then you start designing the target database. So designing the target database is nothing but the designing of the target tables. So we'll understand what is the schema. Here, designing the target database is nothing but the designing of the database tables. So once you decide the database tables, then you'll talk about the data mapping, data cleansing, the aggregation, summarization. So this is the concept that you're going to introduce everything in the ETL process in integrating the data. So when you have a data which is available here and you're integrating the data from this, these OLTP systems into the data warehouse. Here you're going to extract the data, transform, all the ETL process will be applied, and you'll define the separate mappings for it. So what is a mapping? All those things we'll understand. That is a term that is being used for a ETL program here, which will use it. And we'll also understand what is a data mart, what is a data warehouse. Data warehouse is a subset, data mart is a subset of the data warehouse. How are you going to build the data mart and all those things? And this is maintaining and administration of the data warehouse is a continuous activity that which you are going to follow to data mart. So that is how you follow the different steps or the different process steps which is used to build the data warehouse, and we need to understand the few terms. I'll just come back to this after going through the data warehousing components or the architecture of the data warehouse. So this is an architecture diagram of the data warehouse, how the data flows from the OLTP system into the data warehouse. So you actually extract, so the data warehouse will not be loaded directly from the OLTP system into the data warehouse. It is actually done in the phases. It is done in the different stages. You can call it as stages rather than phases. It is done in the stages. First, you'll extract the data from all these OLTP systems into the staging area. That means staging area is a temporary area. Staging area is a temporary physical area. It will be existing in your database, just like a physical table. It will be there will be a group of staging tables which stores the data from these multiple tables, and then first we store the data into the staging area. And when you are loading the data, when you are extracting the data from OLTP to the staging area, generally we don't transform the data. We'll just extract it and then dump it. We don't apply any transformation rules. Means like we don't massage the data or we don't modify the data as such. First, whatever the data that is present in the OLTP system, just extract it and then dump it to the staging area. Once you have the data available in the staging tables, from there you'll apply all these techniques, cleansing techniques and the data transformation technique. So what is data cleansing? What is data cleansing? So when you say what is data cleansing is the process of cleaning the data, the process of removing the erroneous data, the process of applying the business rules. All these things is called as a data cleansing. Means you'll clean the data, you'll reduce the redundant data, you'll reduce the inconsistent data. Suppose let's say you have a SSN number which is of 10 digits, and if SSN number is less than 10 digits, then I just want to reset that record. So that is a one thing that which you follow. And you have a duplicate record, means same customer information you are receiving multiple times. I just have to clean that data before loading into my target. So that is one more data cleansing process that we follow. So likewise, you'll apply the different data cleansing techniques, and the next thing is about the data transformation technique. So what is a data transformation? Data transformation means like you are modifying the data from one form to the other form. Let's say you have a character data and you want to convert the character data into the date data type, or you want to convert a normalized data into the denormalized format, or you want to aggregate the data. All these kind of a modifications which you perform is called as a data transformation. So when you go here, once you start doing it from the staging area, you'll apply the cleansing operation and then the transformation operation, and then load into another area called as a ODS. ODS stands for a operational data store. So staging area, what is difference between the staging area and the ODS area? So in the staging area, you'll have only the incremental data, and the ODS will have the data for till 90 days. ODS will have a data for 90 days. So this is just a raw data. This is a transformed data. So and also in the ODS, you'll have a detailed level data which will be present. Detailed level means, suppose let's say if the customer in one of the table, customer has performed 10 transactions. So here also, if you refer that table, you'll have 10 transactions for that customer, which means you have not aggregated the data. It is a detailed level data. Detailed level data will be present in the ODS. So once you load the data into the ODS tables, then you're going to aggregate it. Aggregated means aggregation is nothing but the calculation of profits, calculation of average values, calculation of all these aggregations, minimum, maximum, sum, average, all these things. You'll aggregate the data, then finally load that into the data warehouse. So your data warehouse will have the data which is required for your reporting. Let's say your business user wants to view the revenue at the year level, then your data warehouse will have the revenue at the year level. So if the business user wants to see the data at the month level, so then your data warehouse will be aggregated and you'll have the data at the month level. So likewise, the data will be aggregated and then stored in the data warehouse. So once you have the data warehouse ready, then you have the different data marts here. We'll come back to that. So data mart is nothing but the subset of the data warehouse. Data mart is nothing but the subset of the data warehouse. When we talk about, so we have a data already present in the data warehouse, then what is the point of building again a data mart here? So you have a data here, and why we are again building a data mart here? So suppose in the data warehouse, you have a denormalized data. And if you further want to denormalize, if you further, let's say now your business user is interested today at the quarterly reporting, means they just want to identify the revenues at the quarter level and then generating a reporting. And in the future, they have come up with another idea saying that we need to actually identify the weekly reporting. So every weekend sales we. So in the data mart, it is a further denormalized structure will be there, further denormalized. And also the data mart it is not that every project will have a data warehouse and the data mart both. So there are different architectures which are available, and based upon the project, whether you can have only the data warehouse or you can have a data warehouse with a data mart. We'll see the different data warehousing architecture in the coming slides tomorrow. So now when we talk about this, so staging area, ODS area, when I say data warehouse, this is nothing but the group of tables which are existing in your database. First, you will extract the data from these tables and then load it into the staging area. Staging area means staging table. Let's say you have so just assume, let's just take the same example. Here you have a customer C1 table. Okay, let me just give you the clear example by building the another paint diagram. So let's say I have a data present for India system. Let's take two only, I mean for a simplicity. So I have a customer table here, or I have an order table. Let's say you have an order table, and this stores all the India related transactions and all those things, or India related orders. Let's say eBay you consider, and I have an order table here as well, and which will store all the US orders and all those details. So when you have a data distributed, it can be also true that both can have two different names also, name tables also, that is also fine. So first what you do, whatever the data that is present in the OLTP system, so whatever the data that is present in the OLTP system, first you'll keep it into the staging table. So you don't transform any data, first extract it and then dump it here. So this is a staging table. So you have this one is your STG underscore order. Let's say you have a staging area called as a STG underscore order. This is a staging table which is there. First you'll extract it in here, then before loading into the ODS area, and also it is true that it is not necessary that every project should have every data flow should have a staging area, ODS area and the data warehouse. You can also skip it. You can have just only the staging area and then directly load it. So when do we require a ODS? I'll come back to that step. So now let's say you have from the staging area, you are loading the data into another table called as a ODS underscore order. ODS underscore order. Here you are applying the cleansing techniques and the transformation techniques. Then you are applying the transformation techniques, all those things. Then, okay, this is the ODS order table. Okay, let me just call it as ODS order. And from ODS order, you'll aggregate the data, then load it into the data warehouse. So in your data warehouse, you might have a table called as a fact underscore sales. That is I'm just calling it as a fact. What is a fact we'll understand later. What is a fact table name? So from ODS order, it will go and then go and sit here. It will go and sit here. So here what you do, you'll aggregate the data, summarize the data, all these techniques. So if you want to aggregate, summarize, all these things will be there. So at every stage you'll have a ETL program. So here you'll have a ETL program 1, which integrates the data from these into staging area, and here you'll have a program 2 which will integrate the data from staging to the ODS, and here you'll have a program 3 which integrates the data from ODS to the data warehouse, ODS to the data warehouse. Likewise, you'll have a different programs which will be built to do that. And whenever you're extracting the data from this OLTP tables, so we are not going to extract the data every day, whatever the data that is available. So whenever we are extracting it, what is happening? 1 second. Yeah. So So here, likewise, the data flow happens from the OLTP system to the OLAP system. This is just a single table that I have taken, and then I have shown you the flow. Likewise, you'll have a different tables, and these are all the different schemas. So let's say I assume that schema is nothing but the user in Oracle. So schema is nothing but the group of tables. This is a staging schema, this is a ODS schema, and this is a warehouse schema. So all these three schemas can be a part of same database or the different database also. So you can choose accordingly based on that. So when you go back to your diagram, actual diagram, this is how the data flows. On the top, whatever you have the metadata layer, this metadata layer is nothing but the programs that you built in the Informatica, the programs that you built in the reporting. So once the data is loaded into the data warehouse or into the data mart, then it is going to be analyzed by the OLAP tools. So here, whatever the arrow marks that is being represented, that represents that it extracts the data, I mean not extracts, it reads the data from the ODS or the data warehouse or the data mart and then represent the data. So this is nothing but your reporting analysis which is happening here, and this is an architecture how the data flows from your OLTP system into the staging area. So we need to understand also what is an incremental data and what is an incremental data and what is a full load. So we'll explore more on the architecture part tomorrow again by keeping this in mind, and we'll continue from there. So we just have lost 5 minutes for today's class, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead now. I'm unmuting everyone, and you can go with your questions. Yes. Any questions from anyone, please? Yes.
No, actually today I missed the entire session because since 6:30 I am waiting for the link and now I am not able to connect to the link actually. So just now I connected to the link.
Okay.
So maybe I missed the entire session today.
Yeah.
So is it possible to send any video for me for this?
Yes, yes. We'll upload a recording from today and we'll share it with you. And probably I'll get in touch with Chegan and to get the videos from him. Okay? Yeah, we'll send the recording to you.
Okay.
Yeah. What is your name? I actually see your name as Del123. No, I understand, Venkat. Yeah, I answered your question, Venkat. Yeah. Yeah, Sabyaji. You don't need actually the complete Unix shell scripting programming. Whatever is required, we are going to teach you in the class. Venkat, you can mute yourself, Venkat, like when the class is going on. There will be a microphone symbol on the top. You can just mute it. Yeah, we are going, whatever is required for in terms of Unix, we are going to teach you in the class itself, right? And any other questions from anyone, please, before winding up? Yes, today I'm going to send it, the links and everything. Maybe from tomorrow I'll start sharing it. I'll just check once and all the materials and everything, and I'll start sharing all the materials. So these PPTs, I'll right away send all these PPTs, and if you just want, I need the tutorial in my mail. What do you mean by tutorial? You want the material you're referring? Yes. Yeah, we'll do that. Probably these kind of notes we may not share it, but we'll share it. Yeah, we'll share all the PPTs and everything. Just give us a day, and we'll finalize the participant list, and then we'll send it to you. That's it. Because we are finalizing the list of people, and once it is done, we'll share as and when it is appropriate. We'll share all the details. Okay. So yeah, that's it we have. And any other questions before winding up? Okay then, thank you. We'll meet tomorrow to discuss the rest of the topics. E. Where do you see ETL? Okay, extract. Sorry, you missed yesterday's session, right? So what we can do is like I'll ask Jagan to send you the videos what we have recorded for the previous sessions, and yesterday's video also he has recorded it, and ask the Jagan to send it, so he'll give it to you. Okay, just call him now and then ask him to upload the video, and probably going through that video and today's class will help you to understand from end to end. Okay. Okay, then thank you. Yeah, Ranjit, can you drop your number, Ranjit? I don't have your number actually to call. Ranjit, are you around? You're on the mute. I don't know if you're speaking. Okay, thank you. Closing.